Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Riding of Yorkshire series. Together with the unparished city of Hull, it forms the county of the same name. There's 172 parishes here. Which one are we in today? Let me ask you something, people. Is there anything better than the glorious East Riding countryside early on a Saturday morning when it's not raining? Because that's exactly what's behind me right here. I think there's only one thing that could actually beat that, and that's the glorious Lincolnshire countryside. But we're not in Lincolnshire today. I'll tell you where we are. We're in the car park of a village hall. If I turn the camera around, you can see said village hall with the British flag flying proudly on its side there. Now, this is a village that has a connection with Queen Henrietta Maria, and there's a certain building we'll see around this walk where we will explain said connection. Its name is Burton Fleming. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Burton Fleming, Fleming's Fort. In the East Riding this week, we come to Burton Fleming, another village located in the Great Wold Valley on the banks of the Gypsey Race stream. This one really is full of hidden gems. The one that everyone should know about here is the Manor House, the property to which Queen Henrietta Maria, the former wife of Charles I, was sent during the English Civil War. Since the 14th century, Burton Fleming has also had the alternative name of North Burton. It's yet to be determined where the latter name came from, but over the years it became a very popular alternative name for the village. Indeed, it was only at the insistence of Scarborough General Post Office in the late 1920s that Burton Fleming became the official and only name for the place. Burton has been a goldmine for historians for centuries. It has lots buried under the ground, which has piqued the interest of archaeologists before now. Today it's a large sprawling village which contains a great variety of small houses and cottages in an area that still revolves around agriculture on the wolds. Change has taken place here for sure, but its traditions and legend still remain. An open village that's evolved over the years and will continue to do so in the future. Let's have a walk around it and see what life's like here in 2024. We begin today's walk at the village hall. This red brick single-storey building was established in 1984. The 30th anniversary of its opening was celebrated in 2015 by holding a village market on the green. This was done to replicate a similar market that was held over 30 years ago to raise funds for the hall's construction. Let's get the parish ticked off the East Riding list while we're here. That's the last of the Burtons in the county. We've been to the lot. Now for a walk around the village. This is South Street, which is the main through route from east to west. Like Wold Newton, which we met last time, Burton Fleming is another village that sits on the Gypsey Race, the winter-born stream that dries up in places during the summer. As you can see here, this stretch of the race has virtually no water in it, and that makes sense given it was mid-June. However, don't be fooled. Burton Fleming can become inundated with water, and the last time it did, to any severe degree at least, was back in 2012. The stream burst its banks after heavy rainfall raised the groundwater level at nearby Boynton. Looking at the place today, you'd never know, would you? Burton Fleming has a good collection of facilities, including the Willows Care Home, which has been here since the 1980s and has a capacity of 30. On the next corner is the Burton Arms. Traditionally the communal hub and lifeblood of the village, this has been closed since 2022 but was sold at auction last year for £220,000. Google still lists this currently as permanently closed, and there are no real giveaways as to what's going to be done with the property. That brings us to Front Street. Burton grew along this thoroughfare, and in every way this is the classic East Riding main street. First up along here is the magnificent former Wesleyan Methodist chapel, which dates back to 1883. It's made of red and yellow brick and has a striking Romanesque style exterior. This is now used not as a private dwelling but as a holiday cottage. It has 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms and can sleep up to 10 people. Just opposite that is a bus stop. Burton Fleming is served by the number 124 between Bridlington and Driffield. The shelter nearby is notable too. Both this and the street lighting were provided by the people of Burton Fleming in gratitude to all those who served the country in World War II. And in this bus shelter, it's also a little book exchange. There are 2 bookcases, one here on this side wall, and if I hand the camera around to the other side, you can see there's another one. This one's got videos on it as well as a few DVDs as well. So yeah, plenty enough for people in this bus shelter. And this is the view from the bus shelter up Front Street. There we go. I'm going to continue up there, but we're going to take a right turn at the post office, which you can see in shot now. The white building is the post office just there. We're going to take a right turn there and onto Back Street and towards the Mere. Continuing up Front Street, next we find a map of the place. The Enclosure Act of 1769 brought change to the shape of the village by adding a new road. Known today as West Lane and Penny Lane, we'll be walking down it later. Next to the map is the old phone box, which contains the defib machine, but once you get beyond this, Front Street becomes almost entirely residential. There is one other landmark of note up here though. Halfway up the street is a shop and a post office. It's still operational, but it's only open for 4 mornings a week. Even so, it's great to see a rural post office that's still going. Using Milson's Lane, we've now arrived on Back Street. Before us is another Mere. It's not unusual to see one of these in an East Riding village, but Burton Fleming has 2 of them. The second one is a little way north of here, behind the church. Moving on, if you look to your left, you'll see a building called the Chapter House. That's the back of Burton's former primitive Methodist chapel, which dates from 1901. On the other side of the road is the old Victorian primary school, which is now a private dwelling. This dates from 1874, and attached is the former head teacher's house. Via a small cut through, we're back to Front Street again, and now we need to head north. In a few steps, the road splits into 2 pieces, which run either side of a triangular village green. The left-hand fork goes in the direction of Fordon, whilst the right fork heads to Hunmanby. On the green itself is Burton's War Memorial. This is a stony cross on a 4-step stone base. Upon it are the names of 8 men. 4 of them died in World War I, the other 4 in World War II. Next, the church, which overlooks the green and the memorial. Grade 2 listed and dedicated to St Cuthbert, it's hiding behind those trees. Dating from the 12th century, St Cuthbert's Church previously had a Norman aisle to its nave. The aisle arcades are now evident as part of the exterior wall. The church retains a Norman south doorway and a west tower. Now, despite the Norman architecture, this has something from just about every architectural period imaginable, all piled on top of each other in a glorious eclectic style. Perhaps the most interesting feature is one of the newest, the unusual Victorian windows at its eastern end. They feature painted glass, which gives them a more opaque look than stained glass would. Next, we come to the 19th century North Burton Hall. This is one of the only properties in the village that uses the North Burton name. It was only in the 1920s when Burton Fleming was deemed the official name of the village. Through these trees nearby, we can see the second Mere, and this road brings us back to Front Street again, where it becomes Mill Road. Now, whilst we can't deny that Burton Fleming has some lovely historic properties, like this one for example, one house stands tall above all the others in this village owing to its royal connections. I'm talking, of course, about the Manor House. So here we are then. Behind me you can see the house where Queen Henrietta Maria, the former wife of Charles I, was sent into hiding during the English Civil War. Yes, indeed, this is where Queen Henrietta Maria was sent into hiding during the English Civil War. The youngest daughter of Henry IV of France, Henrietta was Queen of England, Scotland and Ireland from her marriage to King Charles I on the 13th of June 1625 until he was executed in 1649. Under a decree of her husband, Henrietta was known in England as Queen Mary, but didn't like that name and often signed her letters Henriette or Henriette Marie. From the house, we make our way onto West Lane, which is predominantly a residential area. That calls for a little montage, I think. Enjoy, people. We rejoin the route on Penny Lane at this boarded up house. This has been in that same state for years, and it's a pity really, because if it had glass in its windows, its residents could be enjoying this fabulous view across the open countryside towards a well-known burial mound called Willie Howe. Behave yourselves in the comments, I remind you this is a family channel. You can see Willie Howe from this playground, Burton Fleming Park. This is our turnaround point now, and next on Wold Newton Road is an office belonging to Velco, a tyre casing company predominantly based in Weaverthorpe. Our last job is to check out one final landmark on Thwing Road. This is the former village pump, but it's rather odd compared to most others. It's a double pump and it's known locally as Black Jack. Both pumps have compound handles intended to be operated from low down, but the two spouts, which have bucket hooks, are far too high for the filling of buckets and too short for the filling of water carts. This has led to many questions from historians. Were there once swing-out troughs? Are the spouts recent replacements? It's a bit of an enigma, but we do love a good mystery on this channel, don't we? We're in glorious sunshine now, and that bodes well for the next couple of episodes. I've still got a couple more villages to do around here. So yeah, for the next few hours it's going to stay like this, and hopefully the results will be seen on camera. Now we are done with Burton Fleming village. All I've got to do is walk back down South Street to the car, which I parked near the village hall. But we're not quite done with Burton Fleming parish. You see, to the southeast of the village there's a little settlement called Argham, which is important for some archaeological reasons. Now, as we've learned before on the Yorkshire Wolds, there are plenty of archaeological gems in the area. Burton Fleming has loads, so many in fact that this part of the parish is a veritable gold mine. This is Argham Lane, where there are 22 ancient burial sites in and around the fields you can sort of see either side of the road. On top of that, there's a further 42 at a second site known as Belslack. The burials at Argham Lane were all excavated in 1972. All of them had central graves into which human remains were placed. 19 were arranged in 2 rows, with the remaining 3 to one side. The skeletal remains found were all crouched or contracted. Grave goods were variable, but things like ceramic vessels, copper alloy or iron brooches and sheep bones were all discovered. There was even a single shell bracelet on the forearm of one female skeleton. And with that, we are finished with Burton Fleming, and next week we're off to another place with more Neolithic activity. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.